Welcome. Hi. Wendy and I are here today to talk about really what we just experienced. So we want to talk about how you know you're on the right path.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah.
And how do you know you're on the right path? You know you're on the right path because it is uncomfortable. So I'm going to say that again. We know when we're on the right path when it's uncomfortable. So Wendy and I were going to start today. We're going to start with a video about something amazing and I'm sure really intellectual. And literally we were stopped in our tracks. We could not move forward. We could not come up with an idea. It just felt so just off, so wrong, that literally spirit stopped us. Like, nope, you're not going. And I'm like, I don't know. It just feels wrong. And we're kind of debating that, right? Like, no, it's okay. We'll go here. And it was like, no, it just doesn't feel right. You want to add? Because it was uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, that just comes back to just if it doesn't feel right, you have to really trust your feeling, right? And so it was like we could have forced our way through, especially, and we all do that, right? Like, it's a task to do, and we have to do this, and we said we were going to talk about this, and we're just going to do it. And we could have kind of, like, manhandled it and just kind of pushed, which is totally a bad thing to say. But just
all you men out there,
we love you.
We love you.
It has nothing to do with that, but just kind of dominating and forcing ourselves through something. And yeah, so just.
So then in that journey of kind of going, this doesn't feel right, of course we ask the question, like, what does feel right? And in that opening, in that question, it allowed us to understand that we needed to go somewhere a little bit more authentic, a little bit more real, and a lot more vulnerable. So you might notice by the clothes that we're wearing, some of the videos that we made that actually preceded this one, where we needed to be uncomfortable. We needed to be our authentic selves in such a way that we both kind of hated it.
It was scary.
It was scary.
It was scary. It felt scary. It felt like there's parts of myself that was like, this is wrong, this is wrong. And honestly, it's just because I was really just being vulnerable and being myself, being my true self, and allowing myself to be seen. And that's what you mean by, right, being uncomfortable.
Right.
Or like, what did you say? You know you're on the right path when it's
uncomfortable.
When it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like a feeling.
Yeah, and
because that can also tell you, like, being uncomfortable also means that something could just be off where you need to get out of a situation or something. So there is a fine line, right?
For sure, there are moments when we need to know that we're unsafe, right? That's kind of what you're talking about. Like, no, something feels unsafe. And yet in that, if we feel unsafe, I mean, we're still easing into that discomfort of, let's say, speaking up for ourselves or whatever. And I want to flesh out a little bit that the knee-jerk within all of us, psychologically, is to avoid that and not go there. And that's where this is so important, having these conversations, doing this work, connecting and increasing your intuition and loving yourself, because you begin to really understand what's at the heart of you and who you really are. Do you see what I mean? Like, kind of like, because if we go about, our knee-jerk is like, no, I don't want to do that. That sounds hard. Oh, no, whoa, I'm not, no. Except that might be the very thing that really brings you joy, that really brings you peace, that really allows you to be your authentic self. No?
Yeah, I think that that's. Yeah, it's just. I feel like there is a place. It resides in the body in like a specific way.
What do you mean?
Like, it feels different. Like I feel like what we're talking about, that resides in a different space than like what I was talking about, like being uncomfortable in a situation, or like how do you navigate? Like, we're trying to show you how to navigate that and what that really would feel like, and it's a feeling. So how do you describe
right? It's the
that?
Unseeable stuff, right?
Right.
So of course, yeah.
But it resides somewhere different in the body. It's kind of like you're being vulnerable. You know how vulnerability. It feels scary, like you're going down a roller coaster, but you want to do it, but you don't want to do it, right? It's kind of like that kind of feeling. So it's not. There is a trepidation, but it has this different tone to it.
Yeah, for sure.
right? And only you would know that. You would know if you're like in that heart space, you know, you would know because if you're coming from that heart space and that's where you're feeling like, hey, I'm going down this, and like, hey, I need to break up with this person, or I need to tell this person I love them, or it's like that same kind of trepidation, right?
Yeah.
Like that's vulnerability, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for me too, I mean, just in loving everyone and wanting others to feel safe and be their authentic selves, like talking about when something doesn't feel right for you, having a voice in an experience that you're not used to having a voice in, that you just go along with the status quo. I mean, that's kind of what I'm talking about. It's like, because we avoid this, we avoid the discomfort of this, and then all of a sudden we start waking up to this life that is settling, that maybe doesn't feel right anymore. And in waking up, we allow ourselves to ease into that discomfort.
Yeah, it's almost like what we were talking about yesterday about, you know, with that group that came up where it was just like starting each day with like noticing and feeling, right? Like really, that's how you become aware of those things. Like if you're really present every time and with yourself and acknowledging, right? Like really asking the question, hey, does this feel right? And being a lot more logical, I was ready to just do the video how we were total transparency.
Well, no, and that's another really important point, I think, too, is because really for so long we've probably been kind of dimming our light a little bit and not being our authentic selves. So the courage that it took to show up for that, it was vulnerable. It was hard. I mean, both of us, before we even started recording, hopefully Chris doesn't put that in there, we're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do it. It wasn't quite that dramatic. But we did it.
I said, I feel tears. I feel like I'm going to cry. Yeah,
right. So maybe, you know, what we're partly talking about is just really the courage and how it did kind of feel like a big deal, because that is a part that's been going away, where I would imagine it just gets easier every day, right?
Yeah.
So just reminding us all of that. It's a beautiful conversation.
And and I think that, you know, when you really were your authentic self, you like shine. It was so beautiful. And we really want everyone, if we were all just our authentic selves, I mean, how amazing would that be? Like, I really want to know how you feel. I don't want you to do something that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So, right?
Yeah, no, it's a neat thing. And I love to hear what you had to say. I mean, it was just like, yes, let's talk about this.
Yeah, those
exciting things happening.
Those are real things. Those are real voices. Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So fun. Thank you so much for joining us and checking us out.
And be real.
Yes.